I think it's been used and abused.
For one thing, we're then eating the antibiotics. There's also a problem with humans having much exposure to antibiotics.
We get antibiotics for very good reason. Probably not a bad idea to give them some too.
Yeah, it's actually been a huge point of why I actually don't eat a lot of meat.
And I don't want to eat that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would want to know.
There's obvious concern about antibiotics in chicken. I'm Kelly with Chicken Squad Intelligence. It's time to investigate. Are we eating antibiotics when we're eating chicken? I'm kicking off my investigation by talking to poultry veterinarian Dr. Bill Cox. Hopefully he has some insights. Thank you for meeting with me, Dr. Cox. My first question for you is regarding antibiotics. Am I eating antibiotics when eating chicken?
No, you're not. Every chicken that is produced in Canada has to go through a withdrawal period where the medicine naturally leaves the body. That is also monitored by CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency.
What is the concern then about antibiotics?
So the greatest concern is over a problem called antibiotic resistance, where bacteria that can cause disease develop the ability to fight off that antibiotic and therefore can't be killed.
If that's the case, why are antibiotics used in the first place?
So just like people, chickens can get sick, and when they do get sick, we can use antibiotics to treat them. We can also use antibiotics in certain cases to prevent diseases. So they are a very important tool available to us in keeping our birds healthy.
How do we use antibiotics appropriately?
So the use of antibiotics is regulated by Health Canada. Some of them are allowed to be used without a prescription. Others require a veterinary prescription depending on how critical that antibiotic is.
So there are different types of antibiotics.
Absolutely. There's some that are very important for use in humans and that are actually not used in poultry. There are some that are important for use in humans and poultry. And there are some that are important for use in poultry, but not used at all in humans. In fact, one of the most commonly used antibiotics is not used in humans at all and actually poses very little risk for causing resistance.
So I'm seeing labels around raised without antibiotics. Why are not all chickens raised without antibiotics?
It's certainly possible to raise chickens without antibiotics. The problem is that chickens on occasion do get sick, and when they get sick, we have a responsibility to treat them, to keep them healthy. So the question would be, if everything was raised without antibiotics, what would we do with chickens that got sick?
So what are farmers doing about it?
So farmers are working very hard to try to reduce the use of antibiotics and other ways of keeping their birds healthy. This is happening on a national level with the Chicken Farmers of Canada, and they are working hard on a national strategy to reduce the use of antibiotics in poultry across Canada.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Ray Bayless.
So I need to know, how do we know antibiotics are being used responsibly?
When we use them during the cycle, we're required to fill out some documentation. And at the end of the cycle, there's a flock sheet that's filled out and sent to the processing plant, indicating all medications used. And they look at the forms there. There's a CFIA veterinary who's on site, and he looks at all that information.
Aside from the flock sheet, does anyone come to your farm to monitor what's happening here?
Yes, we have an annual audit that's done, and the people come on site, check all the documentation, and also have a look in the barns, walk around the property to make sure that everything is being done correctly and recorded correctly.
That's great. Glad to know. Thank you, Ray.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Time to conclude the investigation. Here's what I've learned. You're not eating antibiotics when eating Canadian chicken. Chickens must go through a withdrawal period to allow time for antibiotic residues to naturally leave the birds. The CFIA regulates antibiotic use in Canada, and veterinarians supervise their use. Farmers use antibiotics to prevent and treat disease, so we have healthy chickens and a safe food supply for Canadians. The Canadian poultry industry is committed to controlling, monitoring, and reducing antibiotic use to preserve effective bacterial treatment options. There are a lot of myths and misconceptions. When you have a question about chicken in BC, ask Chicken Squad Intelligence to investigate. Visit us at chickensquad.ca or reach out to us on Twitter at BC Chicken Squad. I'll be waiting for your questions.